Good morning, Madfesters. Thank you for joining us here today with so many talks that you can attend. We're delighted you've chosen to be here. So, fortune doesn't always favour the bold, but it's rocket fuel for effectiveness when you get it right. And boldness really defines Libresse and Tena, the talented marketers who lead these brands and the fantastic effective creative that underpins them. So today we're here to share with you how to crack that effectiveness nut by diving deeper, going bolder, and working harder. So I'm delighted to introduce you to Tanja, who looks after communications for Libresse globally, to Margaux, their fabulous strategy partner at AMV BBDO, and here we have Deason, who looks after all things Tena. And it's a real honour to be here with these guys. I could talk to them all day. They're absolutely brilliant at what they do. So I wanted to start by talking about the importance of being bold. So we have a measure as part of our Link Plus solution, our creative optimization suite, that's part of Kantar Marketplace, called Ad Distinctiveness. And if we look at award-winning ads, whether that's Cannes Award winners, IPA winners, or Effie winners, they fall on average in the top 20% of all ads for distinctiveness. So already we've got a good indication that this is really key to effective communications. And then if we look at how those split, so if we look at the characteristics of ads that are really distinctive versus those that aren't, what we can see is they're not only effective in the short term and the long term, but you also reap other benefits. So you get much greater clarity of your brand proposition, so it helps your brand be more meaningful and different, but also you get the extra benefit of earned media for free as more people engage with communications that are bold and interesting. Now, to make this a bit more meaningful for you, I thought we'd put some money against it. So here we're looking at, again, comparing ads in the top 20% for ad distinctiveness versus those in the bottom 20%. Imagine you spent £1 million behind them, and effectiveness influences the power, the amplification of your spend to be noticed. So the top one, ads that are distinctive, you gain 20% extra impact, extra memorability for free. And if you're not doing that, if your advertising is bland, boring, you're not going to be noticed. So it's much harder for it to cut through, and you're throwing money down the drain. Where things get really interesting, I think, is where we look at those ads that are bold, but we split them into bold ads that are effective versus bold ads that aren't. And here you can see the scale of the difference is massively different. So if you're bold and effective, you gain 40% extra free money in terms of the impact and the memorability of your spend. But if you're bold, but it's not working for you, you're wasting lots and lots of money. So today we're going to unpick how to get that right. How do you do boldness in a way that's effective? By sharing these fantastic stories with you. So about diving deeper, going bolder, and working harder. Let's start by diving deeper.
So these are the examples of how a few of our campaigns have made women feel around the world. And people or humans pay attention to what is relevant to them. They remember what's meaningful to them, and that's very simple. But it doesn't mean that it's easy to do. Our brands, Libresse or Bodyform here in the UK, have one creative platform which is called Live Fearless. And with this platform and our brands, we've been on a truth-telling journey. And what we wanted to do is to really understand women's intimate experiences and what they go through, because we wanted to become the most empathetic brand in the world. So what we've done is we've been diving deeper, and from blood normal to Viva la Vulva to period somnia, we've been dynamiting toxic stereotypes and taboos. Let's have a look.
Category. Since then, we've led the way dynamiting shame. We banished the weird blue liquid, showed period blood for the very first time, exploded the myth of the perfect vulva, dared to go into the womb. And we turned the light on periods at night. We've uncovered the good, the bad, and the what? Along the way, we've been vilified, banned. But it's been worth it. We've changed an entire category.
That's the reality of having a period.
Changed culture.
This really opened my eyes to it, honestly.
Changed the way to diagnose pain.
Celebrate, baby,
Changed the law.
and praise you like I should.
We've sparked millions of conversations.
You're so rare. You're so fine.
And become the fastest growing feminine care brand in the world. And through the pain and the pleasure, the good and the bad, we've never doubted each other.
Praise you like I should.
So when it comes to Tena, although we have different target audiences, women, men, carers, even professionals, we have been on the same journey of resilience against a taboo that is deeply rooted. It's rooted in shame and it's rooted in fear. So for the last 10 years, we have been diving deeper into those barriers that keep people from taking care of themselves and others. When you're dealing with incontinence issues, you're not really faced only against that prejudice of that condition, but also all of the other prejudices in culture that compound that, like ageism and misogyny. There are so many layers of stigma. In order to dismantle that, you really have to be empathetic, and that is a key word for us. And you need to figure out how to dismantle them, like demining a very complicated minefield. So how do we dive deeper? So something that we do is ask better questions. To get to know your consumers better, you need really to ask questions, to go beyond the surface. In our last Lonely Menopause, if we just give you an example, we learned that women going through this life stage, only 1 out of 3 are somewhat prepared for it, somewhat understand what they are going to experience. So we worked a lot with AMV and with the Outsiders research team. And basically what we did is we created a set of questions that is a shared resource for all of them so they could better prepare for it and start asking the right questions.
So when you are on a quest to understand women's intimate experiences better than anybody else, you need to be open to hear what probably you don't want to hear. You need to be open to hear the full truth, the light, as well as the shade. Because only then people feel truly seen, heard, understood, and ultimately cared for.
Going bolder.
So Margaux, how about going bolder? How do we do that creatively? How do we bring it to life?
I mean, there's so many ways of being bold. I mean, it's quite a vast exception. I think on Libresse, it's fair to say that we've always been dynamiting shame with empathy. So period somnia was no exception to that. The first thing we were trying to do is essentially suddenly shine a light on so many pain points at night that nobody had really cared to express. What that didn't mean is let's just put a documentary sort of lens on what's happening and just literally capture that, because that would have been probably a little bit dull. What it means is you need to have a point of view on that creatively as well. And the first thing that we did is we realized that all of those experiences didn't have a name. So we gave it a name. We called it period somnia because so many women plus experience those pain points without it being even acknowledged in culture. And then the second thing is more visually. We tried to find ways of expressing more so people can feel more. So something that's important to us is it's not good enough to understand how people feel from an insights point of view. It's the whole job is to then make them feel more through your representations and through your communications. So here, you know, with the help of the director, Kim Gehrig, we really used the thermal camera to go deeper and bolder into representations, into something nobody had done before. So yes, the co-sleeping, yes, the bloating, yes, the farting, yes, the masturbating, because they're all part of a healthy, intimate life on our periods. And then the other thing to say is, creatively, to go bolder, you need to find the blind spots, and the blind spots, again, are not just insights that you translate. Blind spots are also like, what are the things that have never been represented in that way before? So for us, it also meant the product and the product demo. So yes, we did the first product demo in the dark, because periods never sleep, and neither do our pads. When it came to Tena Men, we had a different creative journey and story that was made of humor. Now, I know that a lot of people in the industry have been calling for more humor in the last few years. A lot of people have been sort of almost as a backlash to purpose, talking about humor to sort of be lighthearted. I think you can do both. Humor is also a vast notion. It's both a way of making people react and an emotion. So in the case of Tena Men, the journey started with much more hyperbolic, exaggerated kind of humor. And then this second campaign, You at Your Most Comfortable, was way more grounded. It was not laugh out loud, but it was something that sort of really exuded self-confidence and nothing to show there. And what's really important is when you do that, you express a body language. And for us, body language is not just your talent, your actors. Body language is your brand. And when you project a body language of confidence and an unapologetic behavior, your consumers feel that too. And obviously that was the main barrier for us to get men to take care of themselves. And then lastly, there is obviously a specific barrier in our types of categories, which is people feel really exposed and uncomfortable around their own conditions or issues, and they feel like you might laugh at them if you don't do it correctly. So it's also, how do you use humor boldly, but you displace the analogy so they don't feel like you're poking fun at them. So in our case, we have a long history of finding just really ridiculous analogies of drips and dribbles so that everyone can be in the joke, but also have clarity on what Tena delivers for them.
So is it working for you? Is it working? Are your ads working harder for you and all of the marketing that surrounds them? Tanja?
So with Period-somnia, we are finally putting the very tired debate between purpose or performance to bed. So Period-somnia has helped our brands across the globe outgrow competition. It helped us to ignite category growth, and it also helped us to make the brand stronger. And that's the same from Sweden to South Africa, from Colombia to the UK. And I think what's interesting is when you look at the reel, it's been vastly different campaigns, vastly different products that have been featured, but the number one KPI or the number one consumer outtake across everything was the same. Women felt understood. And that is for us what has helped us to unlock growth. So that's how we managed to become the fastest growing feminine care brand in the world. This is how we climbed from number 6 globally to number 4. And this is how we built the business from 450 million to 1 billion in 2023. And I think what it has showed us is also that we could create preference both for consumers as well as for the customers.
So let's talk effectiveness, but let's start with a few stats first. 1 out of 4 men, 40 plus, experience dribs and dribbles, right? But under 5% of men actually use products that are designed for that condition. So the potential is huge, and it's our responsibility to educate men about that and to provide access to those products. What we wanted to do with this campaign, as Margaux mentioned, is show a confident man, a modern man as well, and also add a dose of humor, because we know that can diffuse the tension that exists within this condition and within this category. And what we also wanted to do is basically debunk the myth that pads and protectors are only for women. These are made for men, and we need our audience to know that. In just one media flight, in one of our key markets, we reduced the stigma and taboo, the perceptions of the stigma and taboo by 50%. That is huge for a category like this. And we are on a good track to continue our journey of increasing sales. We have doubled the business in 5 years, and that is our ambition, to continue doubling it for the next 5. And at the same time, increase penetration for the category, which, as you can imagine, is super exciting for everyone. But how do we also leverage research? This is a very important point for us. So along the way, we invest a lot in research to better understand man of today, culturally, emotionally. And we have been humble also enough not to let good be the enemy of great. So once we had this new campaign that we will show you, we tested it with our great partners at Kantar, and we discovered that there is a little opportunity to elevate it. And with the genius of AMV creativity, we did just that and won an effectiveness award whilst doing it. And let's have a look at it.
Who's this walk? He's naked, isn't he? I knew it. In the office? What, is he some kind of...
Hi. Now we're comfortable, let's talk urine leakage. Tena men absorbent protectors are designed for men. Slips discreetly into my underwear. You'd never know. And they protect like Tena, so no more dribble dramas.
Oh, I get it. He's so comfortable with his urine leakage, he's got to work in his pants. Tena man. What a legend. Look at him.
So I'm sure by now you're convinced by the fantastic achievements of these guys and their partners that being bold in a way that works is key. So you need to dive deeper. We see that evidence of that through our research as well. So ads that do this are not only more meaningful and resonate with people more, but in terms of portraying people positively, showing a modern and progressive society, those kind of indicators also shine through. Going bolder, we see that coming through in terms of things like ad distinctiveness, but also some of the creative elements that Margaux talked about. You know, you can have a great insight, but you've got to bring it to life in a way that really leverages its potential and makes memorable connections with people. And when you do that and your brand is at the heart and the center of it, then the effectiveness will flow. So what does that mean for you? What do you need to go away and think about? So dive deeper, go beyond the surface, ask those unasked questions. So you can link meaningfully with your audience. Your advertising will not only earn attention, but be memorable. And you need to do that in a really distinctive way, as Margaux talked about. You know, it's not just finding the blind spots in terms of insights and really deep, meaningful things that people haven't seen talked about yet, but also smashing the ways you do that creatively to help you stand out. And finally, you know, we're not in the business of entertainment, we're in the business of building brands and making a genuine difference to people's lives. And so to do that, we need to anchor our brand in it and do that in a way that works, where it will be experienced. But of course, to get that right, we've got to do it consistently and build those associations. So I want to thank Tanja, Margaux, Jason for bringing their brilliance to stage. I hope you've really enjoyed the conversation and you feel inspired by their fantastic campaigns and all that they've achieved. We'll be at Kantar Marketplace, Cabana number 9, just through the door, so do pop by and say hello. Thank you very much.
Thank you.